We are hyper-focused on airport security today, and rightly so. Not just overseas either, but right here in this country too, because you'll know that next week is July 4th. Airports are going to be jammed all over the country. Chicago has 2 major airports open to the public, always full of innocent people. And it is horrific to imagine an Istanbul-styled attack at a place like this. Drew Griffin and his investigative team have found something that is stunning, to say the least, Drew, and it involves hundreds of Chicago airport police officers. I can't believe I'm asking this question, but I have to ask this question. They honestly are dictated policy where they are to, quote, run away if there's a terror attack?
That is true. Now, I don't actually want to give the impression there are no armed police at Chicago's airports. There are. The Chicago Police Department has assigned, as of December, 231 officers to both of these airports, but there is a separate police department at O'Hare and Midway. They're called the Chicago Aviation Police. They are sworn officers. They are trained in firearms. Many of them have jobs at suburban Chicago police departments where they carry guns, but when they are on duty in Chicago at the airports, walking around, they are completely unarmed. We broke this story last December, and we talked in silhouette to 2 of those officers who say not only can they not protect the public, but they themselves feel very vulnerable. In the event of let's say it's a terrorist attack, let's say it's a shooter, what are you supposed to do?
Run.
Run.
Hide.
Hide?
And seek shelter.
This internal Chicago Aviation Department document obtained from Aviation Department sources outlines the policy. If evacuation is not possible, hide.
Hi, Chief Edgeworth. Drew Griffin with CNN.
Oh, how are you?
Good to see you. We wanted to ask you why your officers aren't armed. Why they're the only aviation police officers in the United States that apparently are not armed. Wouldn't the public be better protected if they were armed and were able to engage a threat instead of having to run and hide? Ashley, that was the chief of the Aviation Police Department in Chicago. It wasn't long after that confrontation he actually resigned, but the situation remains the same despite calls from the police officers union and an alderman even to get these officers armed. The aviation police officers, some 300 strong at this airport, are unarmed. And in light of what happened in Istanbul, where we actually saw in action a police officer or security official go after and shoot and get rid of the threat of that suicide bomber.
Took him out.
It really makes no sense at all to the aviation police officers.
Here's the video. We're looking at it again, Drew, right here. This is where a cop shoots him down before he can shoot that AK any further. You can see the AK sliding away. He detonates himself, but hopefully, hard to see in this purview.
Yep.
There weren't that many people around him. This officer running out of the way when he recognizes he has a suicide vest. He detonates. Here's the issue. It's perplexing, Drew. They are trained. It's not like these aviation cops don't have the pristine elite training that makes them actually capable of managing a firearm. They're fully up to speed. It's just a glitch in the paperwork. I mean, I don't get it.
It's a confusing political situation in Chicago. There is an alderman who has a ordinance that is trying to get through the city council, but despite having a lot of support, it hasn't gone anywhere. But let's be real, Ashley. You talked with John Pistol just in this last segment about these soft targets. In many cases now, these police officers, armed, military, whatever, when you have these suicide attackers hell-bent on blowing themselves up and first killing people, it is a race to kill them first in many cases. And you may not like guns in our society, but in the hands of the right people, these guns are saving lives. I can only imagine how many lives were saved in Istanbul by that security officer who took that guy out.
Yeah, guns in the hands of police who are actually on security detail actually makes a lot of sense. Drew Griffin, thanks for that. We're going to keep watching that. And in the meantime, great work from your investigative team, as always, Drew. The union that represents those aviation police officers, they're really frustrated, understandably. They want the weapons in the hands of their uniformed men and women. And watching what happened at the airports overseas makes that call even more clarion. Matt Brandon is with the union, the Service Employees International Union in Chicago. I can understand the frustration, but what I can understand is the rationale. What's the downside of putting weapons into the hands of those trained officers and having even more security? And, you know, I get it. They say layered. Why not have the layers all strong?
No, I agree, Ashley. I don't understand it either. We've argued for the past 7 years to try to get these officers armed, understanding that there is a security issue with having unarmed, uniformed presence in the airports that can't respond to a threat.
And what's odd to me is that I thought immediately, well, perhaps it's a budget issue, perhaps it's a liability issue, or maybe even it's a union restriction, or maybe a combination of all of these things. But the answers that we're getting, Matt, is that it is not. So what is it? What possibly is the pushback you and your members are getting?
Well, it's I think Drew touched on it. I think it's more of a political issue here than anything else. There are no legitimate reasons why these officers aren't armed. They're trained at the Chicago Police Academy by the Chicago Police Department. They have to qualify every year to maintain their state certification. They also receive additional training from the Department of Aviation once they're on board before they even go out into onto the airfield. So there is no excuse. What happens is, I've talked to Alderman Ariel Raboyras, who is the head of the Public Safety Committee, and the commissioner here and the Chicago Police Department commander at the O'Hare unit are giving false information on the qualifications of these officers. This is a matter of public safety and officer safety, and we don't need political games. This needs to be fixed.
Well, let me tell you how politics can get ugly real fast if there is anything like what happened overseas that happens at O'Hare. God forbid. Matt, Brandon, thanks very much, and we'll continue to check in with you to see if any of these policies change. I know you sent a letter today, so we'll check in with you on that. Thanks so much for your time.